How's it going, YouTube? Thank you for heeding the Twilight's call. Today, I'm going to do a commander version of my Lozhan Dragon's Legacy deck that I just did in Historic Brawl. There's a video going up at the exact same time that features the Historic Brawl version. So if you want to check that out, the link will be floating around. And as for the rest of this, let's go ahead and look at the recommendations I have to play this card in Commander. So I call this deck You Don't Mess with the Lozhan. And if you get that reference, you like bad Adam Sandler movies. And it makes you cool. So, first up is a card that I shared with the Thrakkus deck tech I did the other day. Dragon Cultist. For 4 and a red, you get a legendary enchantment background that says commander creatures you own have at the beginning of your end step, if a source you control dealt 5 or more damage this turn, create a 4/4 dragon creature token. Just like with Thrakkus, you're going to be dealing large chunks of damage, so let's take advantage and make more dragons for the opponents to deal with. Because it doesn't matter what kind of damage it is, it can be the thing swinging through the air, or it could be just you cast a dragon into Lozhan's ability and the trigger will deal 5 or more damage and you get a dragon out of it. Next up, I have the front-facing commander from the recent Baldur's Gate decks, Furkrag Cunning Instigator. For 3 blue-red, you get a dragon, 3/3 flying haste, that says whenever one or more dragons you control attack an opponent, goad target creature that player controls. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if the creature had to attack this combat, you put a counter on Furkrag and you draw a card. The front-facing commander from this deck is very powerful, and it's a great addition to this deck because it's a growing threat that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it goads your opponent's things into attacking each other and gives you more and more cards to work with and keeps the deck flowing. Next, I have Kaiga the Tidestar. For 5 and a blue, you get a Dragon Spirit 5/5 flyer that says, when it dies, gain control of target creature. This dragon is all upside. It's 6 damage to a target with Lozhan on the board. It's a 6/6 flying beater, and if an opponent decides they're going to take the 6 damage over and over again, and then eventually they're going to have to get rid of this, and if they don't exile it, you get to steal their best thing. This is one of my favorite blue dragons ever printed. Another good blue dragon here, Phantasmal Dragon. For 2 blue, you get a Dragon Illusion 5/5 flyer that says when it gets targeted by a spell or ability, sack it. I like this as a cheap dragon to cast, and it has a good amount of damage for the cost, not much else, but the only downside is that any cheap pinger on the board can shock it, or a shock and just kill it outright. But I'm okay with that because it's just one less spell trying to kill Lozhan, who only has 2 toughness. A newer card that came out of the Baldur's Gate set, but they did not put it on Arena, Renari Merchant of Marvels. For 3 and a blue, you get a Dragon Artificer. You may cast dragon and artifact spells as though they had flash, choose a background. This will give you some instant speed interaction to go with Lozhan. With this, you can ambush attackers coming at you with surprise blockers. You can give Lozhan kind of a defensive trigger capability because you can cast a dragon in response or an artifact and shock blast something out of your way. And you can use this to protect your dragons by able to cast them at the end of your opponent's turn to dodge sorcery speed removal or punishing your opponent for tapping out. Another Baldur's Gate card that they did not put into Arena for Historic Brawl, Amethyst Dragon. For 4 red, you get a 4/4 dragon flying haste. It also has an adventure stapled onto it, Explosive Crystal. For 4 and a red, you get a sorcery speed adventure that says it deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. I mean, holy crap, I wish this thing was in Arena because this is great. It's very strong. You can cast the adventure side. Lozhan's going to trigger dealing 5 to something, plus the 4 damage part of the actual adventure spell. And then when you cast a dragon, it's 6 more damage off the dragon, and you get a 4/4 with haste. This is just a great adventure package for Lozhan to work off of. Next up, I have Bogarden Hellkite. For 6 red, you get a 5/5 dragon with flying that says when it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Just like in the Miram deck tech that I did, this is a great choice for Lozhan because it's going to trigger for 8 damage as you cast it, and then it's got 5 more stapled onto it that can go anywhere, including somebody's face. So that could be a matter of 13 damage blasting somebody, and then you're left with a 5/5 dragon when the dust settles. This is just a good card for this. Another good card here is Dragon Tyrant. For 8 red, you get a flying trample double strike dragon that says at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay red. And it also has red, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. I originally had this in Miram when I was doing some of my deck tech and build stuff, but the 3 colors of mana are too hard to pay the upkeep cost, but in 2 colors it's a lot easier, and if you couple that with being a 10 drop that can do 10 damage off of Lozhan, and it becomes a 6/6 double striking threat that has to be dealt with, It's just a good way to make your opponents die fast if they can't. Another one of the adventure dragons, this one's kind of iffier though, is Fang Dragon. 5 red, it's a 6/3 flying dragon, and the adventure that's on it is Forktail Sweep, a sorcery speed adventure that deals 1 damage to each creature you don't control, which is alright to kind of sweep up tokens and things like that, but it doesn't have haste like the Amethyst Dragon does, but it also has a good converted mana cost to get these things going off of Lozhan's triggers. But with that said, I want to try it out because I don't have a lot of adventures, because there's not a lot of good adventures in red and blue, unfortunately. A lot of the good ones are actually in like white. The next one, I found this while I was digging around doing research for good dragons that were different than what I included in my Thrakus deck and my Miram deck. Furyborn Hellkite for 4 red, you get a 6/6 dragon with Bloodthirst 6 and flying. If you don't know what Bloodthirst is, as long as you've dealt damage to an opponent before you've cast the spell, it gets whatever number of Bloodthirst in counters on it. So in this case, it'd be 6 +1/+1 counters. The fun part about this is, though, with Lozhan, is even if you can't attack through and hit or have any way of burning your opponent, all you gotta do is cast the Furyborn Hellkite into the Lozhan on the board. It's gonna deal 7 damage off of the CMC value of the Hellkite, and then it's gonna resolve and come into play as a 12/12 dragon. I love this interaction, and there's not a lot of major hoops to get through to have it work. And the last card I have is a recommendation that I haven't used in the other 2 decks, and I actually really like it here, is Rorik's Bladewing for 3 red. You get a flying haste dragon 6/5. This is the original Rorik's before he ever became the undead dragon that everybody loves and uses for broken combo shit. This guy is everything Lozhan wants. He's a good size, he's got a great mana value, good body on him, and he has haste so he can swing right away. So, you know, it's like cast 6 damage to the face, swing for 6. It's just really good, and all these years later, he is still one of my favorite ones of the Otarian Pit Fighter cycle. So what do you guys think? Did you like the recommendations I had for Lozhan Dragon's Legacy and Commander? Leave your thoughts below, and please, if you like what I'm doing here, comment, share, subscribe, all that good fun YouTube stuff. It helps my channel grow. And as always, thank you for watching, and have a great day.